Republic doing now?
Me. Hello. Ooh.
Bear with me, my brother. Republic doing now. We're on. We've done it, Captain.
Well, hey, we're in. Hello. I've got some
I'll turn that down. We'll mute the
delay.
channel.
Oh, it's you,
I've
is
turned
it?
you down, Kevin. Bang on time from Kathy. Hello. Yes. That what? Like that's a first.
Oh, we're just showing off, Kathy.
Just after the pips, we appeared. Good evening, one and all. Sorry for the extended delay, the lack of activity on this account, Indigo, but I've been letting things quiet down whilst the sanctions.
I've been falling apart.
Yeah. Come on, Kevin. You want to say hello and what?
Hello, everybody. I'm just firing up me tablet so I can see what's going on the tube. I hope everybody's okay. Yeah, sorry for not being around much. Maybe we'll broach that subject a bit later. But thanks for joining us all, and I hope everybody's all right.
I'm just sharing to a few places, a few choice places, so others can pick it up. Feel free to share it. Anybody that's here now. And yes, we've got a few controversial subjects to discuss with you, as well as monitoring the chat room and then the stream, and we'll pick up comments and questions accordingly. But there's a breaking revelation of a amount of HMRC COVID fraud, in particular 26 million by somebody in India, amongst others, but that's just one of the cases. It amounts to 26 million pounds, and we've established that the HMRC is nothing to do with Her Majesty. It may carry the name and a symbol of a crown upon its paperwork and be entitled HMRC, but we'll get through that later. We've also got
Harry Mary's Revenue and Customs.
We've also got revelations about DWP backdating some information that we found that's come to light regarding claimants and their entitlements. I'd like to talk
also
about
known as the fuckery.
Indeed,
also known as fuckery.
I'd like to talk about COP26 and the impending 1 minute to midnight transport. That affects us in many various areas of our everyday life, and it will cost us. It probably won't cost the corporations. They will be looking to profit on this and sell us down the Swanee, if you like. I'm going to talk about Tesla, wireless technology, things like that. We're going to mention Jack Fresco, Venus Project, the petrodollar, the combustion engine, how out of date that is. And all of a sudden now, 100 years ago, we could have had implementation of this fabulous technology, 0 point green energy. And then lastly, we're going to be careful about this subject so the video doesn't get taken down, but we'll look at breaking news. In particular, Austria has got sanctions being put upon it to the unvaccinated masses. Citizens, etc., persons, mans are not allowed to go certain places, being restricted their rights. They're allowed to go shopping, they're allowed to go to work, and then be good slaves. But for leisurely activities, they're not allowed. If you research Austria, Corona restrictions, you'll find that the government there are saying that if you're unvaccinated, then your entitlements, your rights, your freedoms, your liberties, your human rights, your unalienable rights are denied. Hey,
yeah,
Kevin?
you haven't got none. And kicking off in Hitler's place of birth, indeed. Stop firing off in Austria again.
relevant point. Yeah, sustain. So those are the four. Is it four? HMRC, DWP, COP26, and VAX exemption. Segue. Kevin is working upon some addendums, additions to what we've already brought. He's brought, SPLs have brought, and what we found, you're working on as well, the scribes and those that are in our Telegram, Facebook or private domain are adding to our heavy artillery of defence armoury for retention of rights. And there is an amendment coming, or what we'd say a version 5, thereabouts, a redraft with concise, accurate information relating to applicable areas to enforce rights with regards to employers, with regards to employees, your rights, and medical conditions, and enforcements of various rights for various areas of life. So ultimately, that's something to look forward to. We've got a strong catalogue, we've got a strong referencing point, case law, and I don't know, areas of which you can consider to mention for those various areas of your everyday life, your private life, your commercial life, your voluntary servitude, slavery life. So that's interesting, and we thank you, Kevin, for that work that you and the Golden G are doing there, for the additional information and the revised edits that are going to be forthcoming, I do believe. Yes.
We've all the Supreme Court stuff, so we've gone through it all. The 2015 ruling, Bell versus Tavistock, which we double checked, because initially we thought it had been appealed and overturned, and it had, but in the opposite way that we thought it had. So it's actually it was overturned in the favour of everybody. Sort of interesting case to read, because it's actually about a transgender person and treatment, and obviously age came into it, and they weren't given fully informed consent, etc., etc. There's another case on there, I can't remember at the moment, but anyway. So what's happened is we've gone and read everything and pulled out all of Lady Hale's comments, all of the rulings. So it's right there. But as I say, I've been trying to sort of get to a few, should we say, normies. There's a group locally to me that I spoke to a guy from the other day. He was going, if there's anybody losing their job or whatever because of the vaccine. So I privately messaged him and said, look, here's the facts. Nobody can lose their job, and gave him the case and stuff. So it's something that needs to be out there. It's already set in stone, Supreme Court law. So, excuse me. And then on top of all that, of course, we've got UNESCO, Declaration of Human Rights, Nuremberg, all still valid and usable. So that the armour in this, and I don't know if any of you have heard, but one of the rulings, I think it's in Montgomery versus Lanarkshire, 2015. It says, this is the interesting bit. It says it was held that under the common law, which is very interesting that it should say that. And then it says that denial of fully informed consent is a valid medical exemption. And it goes on to say you can self-certify that. So you can say, my exemption is, there's no long-term data, for instance. And that's enough. And it actually goes on to say, if anybody obstructs you, not on those grounds, but if you're using these grounds to get obstructing, you can sue them for, I think it says something like a tort of battery, etc. So that would be, I mean, basically you're going to go to your health professional, you're going to have to phone up the NHS people, you know, the 109 or 119 or whatever it is, and ask for an exemption form, which they'll ask you a few questions, send out to you, and then you go to your doctor. If you've got medical conditions, anything to do with your heart, your lungs, I think you could use that, because we know it's caused clotting and, you know, respiratory problems for sure. So you could put those in as well, but you should get the exemption purely on that ruling. And as I say, there's 2 or 3, definitely 2, maybe 3 other cases that all back it up. And I say we've pulled everything out of it, all the quotes. So there's, when you serve it on these as part of your here's why I want exemption, you're leaving them in no doubt. They are fully informed of the consequences of them refusing it to you. So they can't say, oh, I didn't know, because you're giving it to them. And it's not over the top. It's going to be basically, you know, you'll have a sheet, and then we'll have the all the quotes and stuff separate, and possibly a separate sheet we're going to do. Well, we are doing a separate sheet for if you've got medical issues. So it's just be like one document, you use the parts that are relevant. So yeah, we're just finalising that, and then halfway through that, I got an absolute load of other laws sent that I'd not seen before, and treaties and agreements. So I forwarded that to Graham straight away, and there's a couple in there we've all heard of, but there was quite a few new stuff I hadn't realised and not seen before in there. So plenty of clout, but as I say, you know, people have got to understand. Just remember, nobody can force you to put anything in your body. If they do, they've got to accept the liability. End of story. If you've got to get sacked, because you will have a case at tribunal easy. So, you know, the answer's already been given to us. In fact, all this, you know, to me, all this scaremongering and, you know, if you don't do this, you don't do that, that's only because most of the people don't realise that they're already protected under the ruling. So pass it to anybody you can that's worried. You know, but yeah, lots of work gone into it. So we're trying to condense it all, so it's, say there's no mistaking. And then yeah, just follow their. I say if you go on the, even on their website, it says if you want an exemption certificate, I'll give you a phone number. You phone up, as I say, a few details, and then they send the form out to you. I had a bit of trouble the other week. A woman was saying to me that I had to have a referral. So I explained to her that the whole point of doing it this way is that you don't have to disturb your doctor. You don't have to make an appointment to see him or anything. So how does it make sense that I've got to get a referral from him? That's doing the opposite of what this whole process is designed for. But yeah, it's not a problem. You just get some idiots in there, don't realise. But I had it confirmed. There's no requirement for you to be referred for an exemption. So don't let them bullshit you. But yeah, just 119. And then, as I say, we'll get all this stuff out, I don't know, next week, maybe a little bit more. So you can all have a look at it. And, you know, we're testing it ourselves with our own GPs. So, but you have to be prepared to push it, you know.
These are like executive orders that are coming through, and as you've said, Hitler's birthplace, Austria, only dictators, as we've come to learn, rule by executive orders, and unless there's a clause in your employment agreement, aka contract, loosely termed, but agreement, saying that you must take part in medical trials and accept an unlicensed drug whose contents you're not told, you know, to be injected into your body, then to be held accountable for that and to be ordered by an executive order is increasingly worrying. That it's just crazy.
It's scary. I mean, it's thank God at the moment it's worse in other countries, and I feel for them. I mean, Australia's gone full back to penal colony virtually.
Yeah,
you know.
I would like to mention a post I did the other day about consent. Consent to treatment means a person must give permission before they receive any type of medical treatment, test, or examination, and this must be done on the basis of an explanation by a clinician. Consent from a patient is needed regardless of the procedure, as we're finding out. So they are saying you must consent, but if you don't consent, then these are the unfair, what would we say, unfair punishments that you're going to receive. Yeah, whether it's
which is also covered.
Whether it's a physical examination, organ donation, or something else, not just, we're going to loosely term this, but the principle of consent is an important part of medical ethics and international human rights. So we do look at various areas of consent, informed consent, and the pressure that they're putting on with regards to the areas where they're doing this at minute care homes and nurses, doctors, etc. There was a post put up about somebody asking their MP if they've had the vaccine, and the reply back quoted an article in the Human Rights. Did it not, Kevin? You remember that one? It did indeed.
You can't. There was section 8, wasn't there?
But yeah, let me just continue reading this paragraph, and then we'll carry on, because it's relevant for the topic we're on. The principle of consent is an important part of medical ethics and international human rights law. Defining consent: for consent to be valid, it must be voluntary and informed, and the person consenting must have the capacity to make the decision. The meaning of these terms are voluntary. The decision to either consent or not to consent to treatment must be made by the person and not be influenced by pressure, especially from medical staff, friends, or family. So to consent and having it influenced by pressure, not necessarily from medical staff, but from establishments, employers, governments, and things like that, is questionable. Informed: the person must be given all of the information about what the treatment involves, including the benefits and risks, whether there are reasonable alternative treatments, and what will happen if treatment does not go ahead. Capacity: the person must be capable of giving consent, which means they understand the information given to them and can use it to make an informed decision. So that's briefly a summary of consent capacity and how consent can be given verbally. It can be done in writing, and you could give non-verbal consent as long as they understand the treatment or examination about to take place. For example, holding out an arm for a blood test. Consent should be given to the healthcare professional responsible for the person's treatment. So that's there's a lot more we've got through there, but yes, I'll leave it there. Your comments and your input, Kevin. Thank you.
Yeah, I say that the consent, that's everywhere. Even if you look, so most of the time they're speaking to us in legalese. So if you go and have a look, I think we posted it, what it says in Black's Law Dictionary about mandatory. And within about the first 3 lines, it says, you've still got to consent. Regardless, it's not a law, you still got to consent to it. Then they're saying once you've consented to it, then it is mandatory. But then, which sounds ridiculous to me, because we all know that consent can be given and withdrawn at any time. I mean, it's no good withdrawing it when they've just finished pushing the plunger, of course, is it? But, so that's sort of a bit contradictory to me, to them to say if you consent, then you're bound to it being mandatory. Well, not really. But anyway, there's a lot of information. Oh, I'll tell you what else we discovered, which I'd never thought about before, but different medical colleges, etc., have different oaths, Hippocratic oaths. How's about that then? I went to, I think, so they're all slightly different. which is, as I say, interesting. I thought there would be one. But the important part is, first do no harm. And there's a part about not administering noxious substances, etc., which they don't know. They can't categorically say this isn't. So that's, but there's lots of stuff. But yeah, it's some interesting asides, to say, discovering that there's different Hippocratic oaths at different medical schools.
Yeah, so that's a bit tailor-made, dependent on circumstances, region, postcode, lottery.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to have a read through a few more and see how they're all worded. Are they basically covering the right bits, but have cleverly worded other bits? If you know what I mean? Have they changed it to benefit them? A get out clause. There is different oaths. There is different oaths, which never even thought about that. You just thought Hippocratic oath would be the Hippocratic oath, wouldn't you?
And I'm looking forward to seeing that Wilkinson Broadmoor, Lady Justice Hale. If you're wondering who she was,
that's the other case.
The Supreme Court. I know I've got lists and stuff in my head now. It's built in, embedded. Lady Justice Hale was Supreme Court president. She was a commentary with regards to forced medical procedures without informed consent. Quote, open quote, would be may be sued in the ordinary way for the common law tort or battery, was something there. And in the judgment, it was held that acting under statutory authority provides no defence. Therefore, the employer would be guilty of coercion on the threat of battery with regards to unlawful dismissal if express evidence of the denial of informed consent are unlawfully rejected. So we've mentioned torts before, and what they are. Tort of battery, that's obviously fisticuff battery. We talk about
you've had a beating.
So
rights, a bit of a beating.
Abuse of rights, the beneficiary shall not suffer a tort is the language, terminology, a sentencing structure that we've used before with regards to what is a tort, torture, breach of contract, and a tort that can be sued. This is like a mask mandate exemptions were self-certified. Is it unlawful for doctors to intervene with the process of free and informed, consent? So this is why we reference these laws and what we're going on. We're going to build up. Well, Kevin is. We're going to build up with what we've already got. So your conditional acceptance is still a very strong instrument, position to play, and denial gets you in hot water. You're free to accept.
Yeah, don't deny it. Defer your decision until the trials are over, data's collected and been analysed. That's all you got to say. But I would especially recommend not refusing anything if you are possibly being treated for any type of mental health issue, no matter how big or small, or if you're on antidepressants. I would tread very carefully because you must remember that in the Coronavirus Act, void as it is, it's now only one doctor to section you. So be careful with your doctors, especially if you don't really get on with them, because they could really ruin you for a minimum of 30 days. If you get sectioned, you're going in for 30 days at least to start with. So just, be careful. And that's why we say never refuse.
Well, on the back of this, I'd like to bring in V coactus, vis compulsiva, vis absoluta, and under duress, and then finally under protest and under duress. So there are certain words, terms, condition, acceptances that you can conditionally lay out. And then if you feel the need that if you do not comply, then your life will be made worse in whatever way, then V coactus, to put it simply, is a Latin term meaning having been forced or having been compelled. In Latin, Cogo means to compel or to force. The passive participle of Cogo is coactus, meaning having been forced or having been compelled or coerced. Vis compul, because people put VC, so V coactus and vis compulsiva are both abbreviated as VC. So it's important we get this, we get this back out and for consideration and for you to go and check. Vis compulsiva, Latin, compulsive force. So force exerted to compel another to do something involuntarily, a menacing force extended by terror. So you got the force, the police force, the force of law, as such there. Actio, Roman civil law, an action, a right or claim or a right of action. Force, power, violence or pressure directed against a person or thing. Actual force, force consisting in a physical act. Then we've got vis absoluta, the physical compulsion. The differences between compulsion of the will, vis compulsiva, which results in the act though not of free volition, and physical compulsion, vis absoluta, in which the unavoidable movement is no act at all. And then we've got Rollin M. Perkins, Ronald N. Boyce, Criminal Law, 3rd edition, 1982, that was sourced from those relevant legal terms. Contract is explained as this. When we talk about contracts, they're not actually contracts because there's only one signature on an employment contract, so it does actually fall under contract law, but with the omittance of the employer's signature and only the employee's signature on a constructed agreement paper that has got terms and conditions, you're actually signing an agreement. If it's an agreement, so contract is described as an agreement between two or more parties creating obligations that are enforceable or otherwise recognizable legally. So contract, we know properly, textbook would contain two signatures from two parties and it would have a meeting of the minds, whereas a contract in legal realms is an agreement. So and then when we look at under protest and under duress, an example would be, and this comes from my mother that asked me if I thought I was King John, and I said no, of course not. I know I'm clearly King David. And she said, you can't put under duress, David, unless you can prove irrefutably, unequivocally that you was acting for fear and threat of harm. She says, such as King John when he was made to sign the Magna Carta, or he would, meet the baron's swords. So when you look at writing and the words, the terms that I've given you there with the VC, you could also look at considering to do comply under protest, which is a better summary use of terms than under duress. Because if you put under duress, then yes, there is a threat, but it's not a physical threat. It's hard to prove. If there would be it's harder to prove duress, and it's easier to say you was under protest. You see, so that was a question from Kathy that she wanted some clarity on what the difference between protest and duress is. You're free to choose to write what you want and to put your position as you see fit. If you can prove there's a duress, then so be it, but it would be easier and more logical to say it's under protest. I yield.
Yeah. Protest is good a word. As I say, go and have a look at the definitions.
Yeah.
And then see which one's more appropriate to the issue. Were you under duress, or also to show how we've moved on, and just because I've had some comments on the video that I uploaded last night of Ernie Tuttelgate, I believe, the natural man who was brought to the Three Forks Justice Court. It was a golden oldie re-upload of a video that I first saw several years ago now, about 2015, with regards to, I am the natural man. And he wouldn't be silenced in the court there with regards to his presentation. And
although we don't, what's the word, do business and speak and hold court as such as is depicted by Ernie in that video. That video is one of the, next to John Harris and a couple of others, that video was very inspiring, very energetic, and it showed me a lot of terminology, so to speak. If you watch that video that I uploaded yesterday regarding Ernie Wayne and you listen to it very carefully, what he says is pretty much bang on, but the way he does present and the way that he communicates is a little bit vexatious, a little bit aggressive. He's not doing anything wrong. He has the right to speak, but how we moved along in the last, since 2015 up to 2021, and what we've learned, the business of the courts, and how we do business, and what we do with the positions in play. It's a long way off as to what that video is depicting, but it's just a feel-good factor there, and a nice, many of you have been on YouTube for several years, lots of years, 10 years since the beginning. Many of you will remember what it was like in the early days when it wasn't regulated and full of algorithms like it is now. And that video is just a simple feel-good factor. We'd recognize that what he does and how he does it will lead to the judge walking off. I've mentioned about recess, and I've mentioned about adjournments and what's going off there in a previous document that was released not so long ago. But you've got to do your business correctly and hold them to account, and try to avoid a summary judgment. So we don't, I indeed, this channel and SPLs, and probably Kevin, but doesn't do business as Ernie does in that video. But in the beginning, that was one of the videos that inspired my soul to, after being at a court, High Crown Court, getting access, being an angry, younger David at the time, that was a bit of fuel to the fire after my baptism of fire that inspired me. And I just thought I'd upload it again for a feel-good factor, not so much to say, that this is a correct way of presenting or holding business in the court there. I just find it, useful for many reasons. So, namely, to show how far along we've come and what we recognise is going off in a court, and how we can discharge the charges, hold them to account. So I don't know if you saw that one recently, what I uploaded, Kevin, but I love that.
I haven't watched it, but I have taken notes. Just going to say, Finn, we haven't done the DWP yet, mate. You're all right. You haven't missed anything.
And I have uploaded a new document that's been made available in Telegram, public, private chat. It's been uploaded to the literature library in the resource vault of splspro.com. It's been put into the Facebook file, so it's on 4 domains, and it's entitled Maxims, Axioms and Precepts of Commercial Law, Maxims of Law, Cosmic Law, Universal Law and Folklore Encore. And a little explanation there. It's 40 odd pages long. It's 22,000-ish words, and it's got a wealth of information on the back of what I've just said about Ernie and the commentary that I've added there. The maxims: he who creates it owns it. He who suffers a damage by his own fault has no right to complain. Whoever pays by mistake what he does not owe may recover it back, but he who pays, knowing he owes nothing, is presumed to give. He who receives the benefit should also bear the disadvantage. That's a lovely one. He who derives a benefit from a thing ought to feel the disadvantages attending it. And there's thousands of words, tens of pages. I hope you enjoy that PDF. It does accompany a previous one that I've uploaded with regards to the recess and adjournment. I'll get you the title for that in a minute, and then we can move on to DWP if you'd like. The core rules of the games at court, the heart of the matter. So it's, in a nutshell, that document that was released previous to the one that I've just mentioned there, the Maxims document. If you ever enter a court and you haven't rehearsed or you haven't responded to the summons, the demands, the notice, then under Roman law, they will convert man into a thing, a name, a proper noun. see common nouns, capitis, diminutio, maxima, and things like this. So there's 2 strong documents that have come out recently for you to, for your kind considerations and for you to help you navigate your way back to shore in these stormy waters.
Mm-hmm.
Who have we got in the chat room then? Let's have a look. We've got Kathy, Jacqueline, P, Lisa, Michael, Rosemary. Lisa, sorry to hear your news about the loved one in hospital, to you and James, and especially the young blood there. We hope things are improving on that front.
Yeah, there's a comment further down about Lisa and James and their son. She's very proud of. I'm sure you'll see that a bit further down, Dave.
Barnes
Fair
is
play.
there.
I hope you're all right. Yeah, all right, Mick. How you doing?
Barnster 48. G-Man, Jerry.
Barnes in there. Bud Presser. That sounds like fun.
Andy G.
Jacqueline. Yeah.
Finn. Chin, Mickey Finn. No, it's just Finn this time. Mr. Dav. The Jolly Roger, that flag with the yellow band around it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There's lots in there. You'll see that I picked up some of my terminology has been taken from some of that, early information that was shared. So we continuously improve, and we honour anybody that goes up against the system and has a go. It's not about, we are here to critique, but we do it constructively and with love. And that is a very old video. And like I say, it's just for the feel-good factor, and also to show how far we have come along and what information we have amassed, and how we can now, with the finding of the magic triangle equity trust, the correction of relationships, the security being surety, and the language that we use, the notices that we use, the positions that we use when we look at common law, Magna Carta, practical lawful descent, and such things like that. You will see, and you have seen, and we've had testimonials from you, and we've had private, wins and certain things that have been brought to you that we can shout and sing about. So it's all good. And you're welcome, Kathy. You are very welcome. Thank you all for joining. Thank you for your viewership.
Yeah, much appreciated. See some new names dropping by. Jacqueline there. I personally haven't noticed before, so I apologise if you have been in before, but thanks for joining us. Andy, after Tuesday, mate, Mr. Greggs, all right, I will give you a shout, mate.
It's good to see the names, the fam back in action. Sorry for the delay. Like I say, there's been a lot going off. Even though it's quiet, doesn't mean to say we've taken our feet off the pedal. We've been doing a lot. Kevin and I are both working on 2 separate CQV, status correction, administrative remedies for bank accounts, master accounts. We're not going to say too much now because it will prejudice, the move that we're doing. But we're doing a lot of work with regards to going into the private. The first stage one was announcing that you are all able to respectfully and politely decline the right to be recognised in front of the law as a person, and you can remain as authentic, sovereign self, man, human, anything but person, corpse, dead entity, company. And you can, the evidence of life, essence, incarnation, the chapter and verses from the heliocentric bibliothèque, from the various editions of the Bible, and in this document I've released today, I do actually explain. Some of you seem to be confused about why we would say that the New Testament may not be a factual depiction of history, but it might be something, amongst other things, for you to meditate upon and show you how to be delivered from evil, and how to not deal with the devil in the details and to sidestep that. So I have explained in there about why we would quote legislation to the officers, generals, ministers, secretaries, wards of the state, wardens in office. We don't necessarily respect and honour and hold those Roman secular codes, legislation, Westminster, HM government's acts and legal remits. We treat them with contempt, but we use them to govern the ones that are governable by them. Them in government, the establishment, are to follow those rules. We just merely point out those rules of which they are to follow in their society. We are in our own private society. We are not legal. We are lawful. They are legal, the establishment, and the above encapsulation of what I was just referenced at the beginning of this. So whilst we are recognizing that you are a little bit confused and people are telling me that I'm serving two gods, etc., as Jesus pointed out to his accusers, first he would quote God's law, then he would quote their law. That's caused some confusion, but we are not holding different laws all in the same basket and mixing jurisdictions and picking and choosing as we wish. No, we always follow positive, universal, cosmic, natural, divine law, not codes, rules, and UK public civil policy. So the policy and the legislation, the rules, the acts, the various establishments, rights that we've universal, fundamental that we quote are for them to be held accountable to. We obviously, you are free to choose how you retain your rights and reservation of rights, and you are free to choose your status, whether that be public or private. Yes, so that needs saying out. Your standing and your capacity and your standing would be either legal or lawful, and then the capacity would be either person or man. So different horses, different courses, and so that's why we need to clarify that as well, because there has been a little bit of confusion with the material that we've put out and the for your consideration. And the architecture of the remedies that we employ, it's jurisdiction once again. So it's not that we hold many laws in one basket and mix them up and pick and choose as we see fit, depending on the time. It's not. It's just the legislation, the acts, your constitutional codes in America, your codified constitution, the constitution of the UK, which you might argue there isn't. Well, there is, in the form of these legislative rules that are mandated out of Westminster upon your person by default. They are for namely the principal executives, the Prime Minister, the executives in office, and the secretaries, ministers, and generals to follow. And we merely point out that they cannot encroach on our rights by ignoring what they are duty bound, obligated to follow. Then we have the international remits, the human rights, ministerial code, and parameters such as this. Then we obviously we recognise with regards to our Christian disclosure and our universal non-sectarian remedy, we don't just include white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, Christians, and so we include everybody in this form of remedy that you can choose to work with us and pick and choose as you want. So I just wanted to clarify that as well, because there seems to be a bit of confusion with regards to Bible references, Christian nation, Bibles in the court. We are the employers, and they are the employees, and we haven't actually got terms and conditions for MPs or anybody that's in official status as a government ward of the state, from the Queen down, from Boris, the Prime Minister, the government, the Lords, and all of this, the House of Commons, the MPs. We haven't given them, I don't know anywhere where there is terms and conditions from us, the employers, to them, the employees. There's been something in the news about somebody having a second job, many of them having second jobs whilst in office, holding office in government and making millions of pounds in their second job, whilst obviously doing a bad job. I'm not going to mention any names. It's been in the news recently. Somebody has had their face smeared across the media with regards to their position they held and how much they made. Can you name that man? We can name them. It's a fact. So well done, Kevin. Yeah. The name of that man. Can you name that man who's recently been in the media?
I've gone completely blank.
It's all right. I'll let others find out. You will come to mind, maybe the chat
Yeah, I
room.
just had it. Honestly, it's like those. I can't, where's that
10
gone?
sovereign points. Yes, you can name that.
Yeah,
So
name that tune.
we haven't give them any contracts. We don't know how many hours they spend or what they do. They take their 80, 90, 100 grand a year, and they swan about doing as
Plus
they
they're
see.
expensive.
Yeah, it's a joke.
Take.
So we don't really hold them to account in any way, shape, or form.
Can I just say quickly, because I did notice, and I know they've had it particularly hard. There's Jalalo, it looks, from Australia, saying hi from Australia, which is nice. We've got someone that far away having to listen in.
Bonza.
I don't know how you've found it over there. From what we hear, it's you've been having it quite bad in places with the lockdowns and the Nazis that used to be called the police, etc. So everything's all right with you, but thanks for joining us. Jerry, I just want to give a shout out. How are you doing, Jerry, mate? I did see you give me a message earlier, mate, so I just want to know that I hadn't forgotten you. I hope you're all right, mate. Lindsay's just popped in. Yeah, projects. I'll just get Dave. We did cover the HMRC, but I'm going to hand it back to Dave, who'll give you a quick, concise version of what's happened with the HMRC.
Yeah, we've just basically heard on the media that there's been reports that this private corporation that's nothing to do with the Queen, but bears the Her Majesty's Revenues, Customs, office for a private corporation, has been given authority to create credit, and under the furlough schemes of the last year or so, they've been issuing grants, money, credits. Sorry, not money, credits to those that apply online, and they've not really used due diligence. They've not vetted and checked as much as they should have. And there has been a scandal where one man in India has been caught out with a £26 million fraud. So they're saying that this debt and the accumulation of all of the furlough scheme, that the Chancellor must have authorised this agency to, manage on the behalf of, has given out money without performing its due diligence, vets and checks. And then they looking at how they're going to try to recover this money from somebody. This is just one of the stories, let alone the other companies that are many and various that has been reported have taken advantage of the furlough scheme and had staff working and still claimed for staff that weren't working. The bloke in India has never been to England at all. He's got virtual offices, virtual everything, and he doesn't have a business here. And he had claims for up to, I think, 2 or 20,000. I think they said 2,000 staff. And the HMRC have basically given lots of credits away, and on behalf of the Treasury, it's come from the national debt, which is obviously originates from the banking cartel of the Bank of England for us, that cartel of private bankers that manages the credit that lends it to government to create this national debt. We're just in a really, really bad state there. So that's as much as I know in a nutshell regarding the scandal that is unfolding, that allegedly is going to take tens of years for this nation, this establishment to pay off, and our children's will be, well, unless we do something and they have a vote of no confidence, and it seems that they've abused their position. They can't be trusted, mistrust, distrust, and failure duty. They should be taken out of the game now. They obviously are not very good at what they do. They're good at taking money off people and forcing money off people and threatening them and repossessing and sending out sheriffs, enforcement officers, some instances, possibly rare occasions, bailiffs, generally civil enforcement and court-appointed sheriffs to come and collect, and threatening. But when it comes to management, concise, precise management and accountability, they are a shower of brown liquid poo.
Kent.
And we've allowed this to happen. The government's allowed this to happen. The Chancellor's allowed this to happen. It's an agency. The Queen, you would argue, has allowed this to happen, but ultimately, because she's handed over management of the government to the Prime Minister and the courts themselves on behalf of, even though it's the inner city, London, and the Templars there since 1067 are actually managing it, the wharf and the banking cartels. It's nothing to do with the Queen, if you really think about it that way. They've it's a totally different system. Different country.
That's why she can't enter. She can't even enter the area the whole system's run from without permission. She's Queen of the UK. Queen of the UK, but can't actually enter the UK without permission. As long as you understand what the UK actually is, and that's the City of London. That's the United Kingdom.
Yeah, it ensconced itself in London town, yes, and the Great Britain, the UK of GB is not England. The monarch of the United Kingdom is not the monarch of England.
That's right.
It's simply put like that is what we're on about. London town has got a foreign territory, own police, own postcode in that square mile, and that's where the corporate city of London, or the London Templars, inns, lawyers, courts, etc., reside. And then we've come to find this, put this in our publications, as many have before us, and we need to deal with this. The business is registered at that address. That was interesting what you posted, actually. That's just come back to me now on is it
7,000?
Go on.
Well, it doesn't say that, but
Okay.
I'm sure 788, 790 will appear. But yeah, it's 7,000 companies that claimed furlough payments from 5 addresses in London, or from 5 addresses. The 7,000 companies all registered at just 5 addresses. So there you go. All been, so that they are milking it. They are absolutely shafting future generations blind. They're taking it all now. It's a proper free-for-all.
And as we approach the 1 hour mark, then let's talk about what I posted, and then the judgment for the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions, and Lady Hale mentioned again there, and some lords. But briefly, the DWP rules could see PIP claimants entitled to around about 15 grand, 15 bags of sand, 15,000 credits or promises in back payments. The DWP has announced that a new administration exercise is underway after a change in PIP law to the definition of social support that was introduced in about 2016, of April 2016. These new rules could see PIP claimants being entitled to £15,000 in back payments. We're not saying this is going to come instantly. Kevin and I was chatting about this. It might be several years before they even look to do anything. But remember, this happened in 2016. We're in 2021, and that was obviously 5 years ago. So last year, the Department for Work and Pensions outlined changes to the process that determined the level of financial support awarded to personal independent payment claimants during certain time periods. The review into claimants who may have been affected by these changes is now complete. The DWP has announced that a new administration exercise is underway after that law in 16. So usually when somebody applies for PIP, the DWP has to take into consideration their ability to engage with others on a face-to-face basis.
Yeah.
But the change in law now means that if a person needs prompting, either by being reminded, encouraged, or having their situation explained to them by a trained person or someone who is experienced in assisting people in social situations like I and Kevin and some of you are, this will now be considered as social support. The DWP said, the change also clarifies that social support is an ongoing need to help engage with other people. It does not need to be during or immediately before the activity. What this means, the DWP is currently assessing PIP claims from people who may be affected by this change. The DWP explained this includes looking again at some claims we decided on or after April the 6th, 2016. So 5 years worth of claims, basically, where PIP was awarded because of needing prompting or to engage with other people face to face. They will now consider whether they needed social support. This includes the claims or some claims where they did not award PIP, and who would be affected by the change. The changes to PIP law affects how it decides claims for people who currently receive personal independent payments, people who applied for PIP in the past but did not currently get it awarded, people moving from disability living allowance to PIP. However, the DWP have advised they will not look again at claims if the enhanced rate of the daily living part of PIP has been awarded continuously since 6th of April 2016. The tribunal has made a decision on your claim since April the 6th, 16. A decision will not be awarded to a decision not to award you PIP was made before April 6, 16. The DWP said not everyone will be eligible. You do not need to contact them first if you're eligible. They will write to you. Of course they will. Well,
eventually.
Yeah, however, they did warn that it may take some time for you to get this letter. They will not invite anybody for another assessment over the change to PIP, but may contact you for more information. The review could provide essential financial support for some claimants with back payments dating back more than 5 years. The DWP explained, if we decide that you should get more PIP, then your award will usually be backdated to a 6th of April 16. If you claimed PIP after 6th of April 16, it will be usually backdated to the date you started getting it. Closing down, potentially this means that someone who currently receives the standard daily living component rate of £60 per week could be moved on to the enhanced rate of £89.60 and be due back payments of around £8,060.60 from 6th of April 16. For someone who did not receive the daily living component or had their PIP claim turned down, this means that they could potentially be looking at a backdated standard rate payment worth around £14,963. The estimate is calculated using, and then I'll leave that because that's boring and long. You'll find that in our various areas that we'll give you this, and you can find that if you so search for it. Why has it all changed, you're asking? Well, the change to how the DWP considers the support that someone needs is a result of a Supreme Court decision that was made in July 2019, which you can read about if you search for it. You can apply for PIP again if you think you may now be eligible, as the change to PIP law has been applied to all new claims and PIP reviews since September the 17th, 2020. And then if I just briefly, Kevin, you can add comments and I'll put on the screen share the actual judgment from and you can add your commentary while I'm doing that, please, brother, if you want.
It's gonna again, as I was saying to Dave and Graham over the last couple of days, to me, a lot of this, it's like the universal credit payment that everybody in ESA and other stuff didn't get, this extra 20 quid a week. That's an awaiting case, and the latest on that is they haven't got any judges to sit on it. And then you suddenly see this big announcement, oh, we've changed the administration and we're going to correct this and we're going to correct that. And, so to me, it's all just about massaging the figures, and ultimately they're getting undone all the time, especially with over the assessment stuff and that now. They're completely getting undone. And this is just a way of, to me, apart from, they can go, well, we can, nobody's probably going to even see the end of this little clear up for 5 or 6 years. That's the reality of it by the time they sort it all out. And then, there'll be something else and something else, because they're just moving money around. That's what they're doing. They're keeping figures in certain places. They've been nicking money from all over. Well, not even money. They've been taking digits from here, there, and everywhere. So, none of it surprises me, but it's just weird that all of a sudden, when they've lost some cases as well at court, especially Atos and that themselves have lost cases at court. And as I say, things start changing once you start hitting them in the pocket. But yeah, they know what they've been doing all this time. That's a ridiculous thing. We've suddenly looked at it and realised that we weren't really giving the right help or considering this. You knew you were doing that. You knew that was going on. You knew you weren't, complying with requirements. You knew. So it's ridiculous. But, I'm glad something is getting put right. But at the end of the day, it's going to be quite, it's not like they go, oh, here's your money.
It just shows that they're not really fit for purpose either.
No,
for
they're
something
not.
like this. This is what I would argue, what we would argue, we've discussed, is that they are not the setup, the system, the process. Is it mandatory? You're looking at the man there that came up with that, and you've all seen, if you're long-time scribes of this channel, the work that Kevin and Graham have done and what he's given to you, or we, the royal we, through him. And in his generosity, him and Graham have given to you for free. And, the testimonials, the wins that you've had, when we say we've discharged charges as well, you obviously get the mandatory reconsideration aspect, the denial, the sanctioning, and we've turned that around, and people have won on this channel and in the public Facebook trust we have on Telegram in our private domain. He's pioneered single-handed, well, double-handedly, him and Graham, with to get to this point, and others, are now different, projects, law activists, if you want, democracy in action, are pointing it out. So again, when you hear of people saying we're taking X, Y, and Z to court, or X to court, some people have the ability to do so and effect legal claims and get them into the judicial area and present and articulate claims, and either get most often than not get a win, or some of them at least get there and it's not upheld, their claim. When some people say they're going to do things and nothing ever materializes, there's a big difference with all of that. I won't mention any names, but I'm sure you can think of a few on the public domains that say they're going to do X, Y, and Z and take X to court and charge them, but then they come out with waffle and reasons for why they couldn't, effect legal claims, and you ask them for references and that, and you get blocked.
Yeah.
The Good Law Project was what had a result. The Good Law Project.
That's right. Yeah.
Was it not? Yeah. At the top of this document, it does say, after the judgment there, if I go back, if I remember, appellant Samantha Broadfoot, QC, Julius Koromowski, Leon Glenister, instructed by the Office of the Advocate General for Scotland, respondent, that might be Yanis or Janice Scott, QC, Joseph Bryce, instructed by Drummond Miller, LLP, intervener, Mind, Richard Drabble, QC, Tom Royston, instructed by Mind Legal Unit. So who is the Mind Legal? Could that be the charity, the .org Mind, by any chance? I don't know. Could have been.
Could be.
Yeah, I've only got limited. This is fresh off the press. So
look into it, yeah. A bit of digging around.
This is in the public domain. We haven't bought it from anywhere. It was just found by accident. And as I was searching for some other bits and bobs, and I thought, Kevin,
intervener, Mind, yeah.
If you'd like to look at that yourself, because we love you and we're good like that, I will try to find where I got that from. Just bear with me. Jam-packed show today, isn't it? Are you enjoying it? We're doing well. Controversy, positivity.
Along.
Yeah. COP26 next for those that are into tech, energy. Jack Fresco. Yeah, go on.
Those that are into hypocrisy.
Hip hop parade.
Excuse my French.
Oh,
yeah.
Hip hop. I like the hip hop. Yeah. Are you having a hip operation, or do you like the music of black origin? If so, stay tuned. Sorry, that was terrible.
I look, we're both on this screen, but I can't see what you. Oh, I can see it on there now.
Let me stop sharing. I just realised it was on screen share. I'm just going to get some link for that document, and I'll put that in the chat if I can find where I got that from.
Yeah, I've had some fun with the DWP. I was expecting to hear from them again. September. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, if anything, because say I've kicked their ass personally, you know, my own situation, done them twice at tribunal. I mean, they haven't even sent any. Well, the representatives were in the building because
Here we go.
That's what the court's for, you know. So they're in the building, but when we go into court, they don't turn up. But yeah, third time would be proof of harassment. I've got so much now. As I say, even the assessment thing's done. You don't have to do them anymore. We got the answer to that. But you know, evolution again. It started off as a you know, a letter, conditional acceptance, and now it can be turned around in a phone call.
Dyslexia is so bad. Hello?
Hello?
Oh, it's all right then. I thought it's gone quiet.
No, I'm still here. Did you say your dyslexia is bad?
Yeah, talking and typing, and that's
right. Yeah.
I've put a link into the chat now, so if you look at that and click that, you will read exactly what. So seeing is believing for some. So there you go. It's not anything that's been doctored or edited, and if you search DWP rules, could see PIP claimants entitled to £15,000 in back payments, you will find multiple platforms with that same headline story coverage.
And this is in the place.
There's lots of information in that document, just to close down, regarding the principles of applications, and where Kevin has said, is it mandatory? Interesting things such as if you are called to go to having an assessment, but you're caring for somebody who else, someone in the same house that either officially or non-officially, recognise or non-recognise, if you have to leave that family member that is impaired in some way alone, then you wouldn't need to go to that assessment. There's lots of what would we call it, rights, not so much human rights, but European European rights, Equality Act, there we go, acts, equality legislation, and so forth. In their own documents it does say, you know, and in their own rules and policy and procedure, that you don't have to attend if and you meet any of these. So in that, if you read through that, why I've shared it, it's not ours, it's in the public domain, so it belongs to you. You've paid for it in effect, and you will find some information that you can use to argue your or enforce your side of the position that you've got there, where they deny that these policies and procedures and processes are in place, and you must go, and if you've been sanctioned, then you'll find, amongst what Kevin has brought to you and what we've previously discussed in that document, some useful referencing and information there. And obviously equality for all is what we're bothered about. And hello, Anders.
Absolutely.
The substance over the form is what we give you, or what is presented for you to look at.
What's that? Any advice on where to find information responding to POC? I'm not sure what POC demanded. Kath. Hello, Claire. Yes. Thank you. Struggling. really fighting every day at the moment, to be honest with you, but not, it's weird. Yeah, really having a fight at the moment with it, and it's a real struggle to stay on top of it, which is what I must do, and I am doing that, but it's really I'm exhausted with it at the moment. So yeah, I'm not in the best place, but I'm fighting it.
Yes, you are. We're looking after you. You're taking time out. You can't look after anybody else or help anybody else until you can help yourself with anxiety, mental anguish, depression, such things as that. 90% of the fight is getting yourself in the right frame of mind, as many of us will know. Many mental issues that we have, we've all got mental health issues because we've all got a consciousness and a brain. So much like physical health, we all have to look after our mental health. Kevin, some of the admins, we get overwhelmed and inundated with requirements, requests, and we have to pace ourselves, and we try to process information and give you information in the form of publications, regular updates, chats, and do it in a way that we're not so much taking phone call after phone call and going through hundreds of emails every day, because it exhausts us. And then we have our own private duties, lives, so existences to look after, families, and we want to help as many as we can, and we've got to learn. And it's the same for all of you. Before you can help anybody and do what you do, you need to be strong yourself. And we neglect, mostly all of us, self-medication, arrogance, being a bloke, not getting in touch with your feelings and things. Not everybody, but for a lot of us, and we damage ourselves by ignoring it and masking it over, self-medicating. And so there's sometimes no reason why you feel the way you feel. Subconsciously, sometimes the subconscious consciously takes over, which is what would we say, a contradiction of terms. But you do things like, when you're conscious, subconsciously, where you can travel from A to B, and you get from A and you arrive at B, setting off from A, and you get to B and think, I don't remember getting here. Memory lapse, blur. You do it on auto. So again, is the reactions, how we react to things, and mindfulness is something which what would we say, Oriental Eastern philosophy, Steiner, Blavatsky, Neville Goddard, people like this have taught us, to some of us, and others, thought leaders and gurus, to manage our minds. And it's an ongoing battle, isn't it? Some it's harder, some don't seem to do it. Meditation, it's we need to look at this, all of us. So Kevin, you take the time out that you need, brother, and the admin as well.
It's just I'm struggling to deal correctly at the moment. It's all a bit of a struggle, and I know that's because it's all been a bit mental recently. So I just need to take I'm exhausted, and my body, I'm just not going to let myself go back to where I have been before. So I just luckily recognize the signs. Thanks, Lisa, I appreciate that, and Claire, thank you. I'm just mentally exhausted is probably the right description.
Getting old, that's another part of it as well, whether you like it or not. Old being.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. It's all good though, as I say. It won't. Thanks, Mike. I'm not letting it snowball or lose control of it, but it's bloody hard work. But as I say, it's not even depression this as such, which is what I've really suffered with previously. yeah, it's strange. So that's a good thing, that it's not that, oh my God, darkness is all around me and that again. But yeah, it's a different issue. I got a new issue now, sort of more emotional, but it's, as I say, it's certainly feeling because I'm tired, fatigued. There's a lot going on, not just sort of what we do up front with SOVs. There's lots of stuff going on in the background. Other things we're up to our necks in trying to perfect, and so we can bring you conclusive information, first-hand information, and not what some other bloke said down the road. So yeah, we're sort of at the door of a couple of things, and we're just literally waiting to be asked to come in. But yeah, there's lots of delays and stuff. It's quite frustrating. But the last 2 years now on have been mental in the background, stuff going on and paperwork, and so yeah, it's just taken a bit of a toll. But to say, it's not just that I'm not depressed. I'm just sort of drained emotionally, mentally, a bit physically, and yeah, I've just noticed the signs, and then just had to step back. I'm not any use to anybody if it's too involved, because I can't think straight half the time. But we'll be all right. It's all good. That's enough of that bollocks.
No, it's true. It's something that affects all of us, and it's mental health and wealth. It's yeah, it's important. We've all got worries, concerns, anxiety, you know, some more so than others, and we're all on that fear spectrum at some point. So yeah, it's just an area that we don't talk about enough.
No, that's true. You know, that's true. I say, as you know, I don't have any problem. I've got nothing to hide from anybody. I'll tell everybody how I feel. I don't really understand it. Sometimes that's the worst bit. Why am I feeling like this? You know, and I can go through everything with the fine-tooth comb, and there's no rhyme or reason, and that's more frustrating than anything. But like, you know, everything at home's great, apart from I'm in the home too much, but that's just the way it's been for a long time because of my health. But you know, there's nothing else going on. There's no, I've got nothing hanging over me that I've got to worry about or anything like that. So it's really strange. But maybe a lot of this is deferred feelings, emotions, issues, while I was dealing with the other stuff, which I seem to have got a grip on. So maybe it goes, right, it's our turn now. You've kept us in the drawer for long enough. Now we're coming out. Who knows? But it is just, I'm just finding it, I'm really noticing that I'm having to work a little bit extra hard to keep on top of it and distract myself when, you know, go and do something, rather than, you know, when a thought or an emotion or whatever it might be rears its ugly head, rather than focusing on it, get up and do something else. It's been working wonders, but I've noticed how much more effort I'm having to put in. But I'm still winning. That's a good thing. I am winning.
Did you see that comment from Lisa? Some people cross your path and change your entire direction. Thankful for David and Kevin. Oh, bless up.
I did see that. Thanks. Yeah, thank you, Lisa. That's really kind. Quite touching.
If we could get to the administration sorted out, so our status, standing, capacity fully recognised by government, and we reside wholly in the private, clean hands, seeking, those that do equity must seek equity, those that seek equity must do equity, etc. Yeah. Then I think that for many of us would be a lot of pressure, a lot of weight off our minds. The public civil duties, liabilities, pressures, commitments, you know, obligations that we have placed upon us do not help. Working excessive amounts throughout the week, year, months, years, amongst family pressures, responsibilities, employment responsibilities, homes, mortgages, rent, bills. We're going through food, fuel poverty, with regards to utilities and the various charges that are coming up there. So, it doesn't help. The system is designed to wear us down, is it not?
Oh, yeah, absolutely is.
Yeah.
Even when you question stuff, it's they don't like it. You're not getting anywhere. And it's just it's a brick wall all the time, isn't it? Whether we know we're all right and everything we use is correct, but it's this. No, we're not having it. This is how it's done. If you'll like it, and the threat of, well, we don't like it, we'll take you to a court, and it's just
yeah, it's relentless is what it is. Relentless out there. Let me pick up the mood a bit and go into equity. Yeah, it's a spirit. We're going to put some spirit into the chat, into the show. It's about equity and clean hands, and it's reminded me something that some of you may or may not have seen. It won't take long, and then we'll go on to the COP26, 0 point Tesla, fresco, stuff like that, before we close down about 11:15. We'll do a good, what time do we start? 9, 10?
We're bang on,
90 minutes nearly in. So at the 90 minutes mark coming up, he who comes into equity must come with clean hands. Common law is ruled and governed by equity, and equity is regarded as the soul and the spirit of the law. So I have a quote here for you all to back up what we are on about and what we are saying. And I have given you a notice of intent that common law is ruled and governed by equity, and that equity is the soul and spirit of the law. And so now I, David, Kevin, Indy, we give you the SOI, our statement of interest, to back up and clarify the claim that equity is higher than common law. And those of you that have been here a while may have had equity, legal, lawful, should I say, equity brought to you, biblical equity brought to you, and other forms of equity, hopefully partially by this channel and our content over the years. So here is one proof, and the following quote is from the American Institutes of American Law, 1882, by a man commonly known as John of the Bouvier estate and family. You may have heard of, yes, Bouviers, and dictionaries and commentaries. So the quote goes like this. This is beautiful. Soul and spirit of the law, equity. Law is nothing without equity, and equity is everything, even without law. Those who perceive what is just and what is unjust only through the eyes of the law never see it as well as those who behold it with the eyes of equity. Law may be looked upon in some manner as an assistance for those who have a weak perception of right and wrong. In the same way that optical glasses are useful for those who are short-sighted or those whose visual organs are deficient. Equity, in its true and genuine meaning, is the soul and the spirit of the law. Positive law is construed and rational law is made by it. That's the end of the quote. And as I say, Institutes of American Law, 1882, volume 2. I think it says something 3724, paragraph 4 by John Bouvier. Equity is not law. Equity is the soul in the spirit of the law. And the rights and spirit of equity are identified as and embody the very energy of righteousness. As you've come to hear, see, learn, hopefully many of you, equity supersedes common law as well as statute law, but you will have a run around trying to establish this in a court of equity in a standard court. But you can, your paperwork, you know what you're on about, and you enforce it and you hold them to account, it will prevail. once we teach you and show you the maxims there, where the rules of common law and those of equity collide, those of equity will prevail. The Earl of Oxford, I believe. So in equity, the judge would make a ruling decision based on the principalities of what the fair and just decision would be. Invoking equity in the courts would simply be to bring justice, to bring grace and mercy to the table. The law cannot be fulfilled without equity, because equity, in our opinion, is love, and love wins the day. Love is all. Do you, initiates and scribes, want to follow the written word of the law in the commercial world of the dead, the corpses, the corporations, as it is, or do you want to walk in peace, love, and equity as a living light on the land? Now, to close down, and we've mentioned in the beginning of this video and the reasons why we quote and what we do and what we use and what we throw back at them. And we've talked about the relevance of the Bible and the lessons that are in there and the layers of translations in each of those chapters and verses. I want us to look again at Christ's teachings. And here is another analogy from the heliocentric bibliothèque, the 1611 authorized version to be precise. And we're going to John chapter 8, verse 7 to 16. So when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself and said unto them, he that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her. And again he stooped down and he wrote on the ground. And they which heard it, being convicted by their own conscience, went out one by one, beginning at the eldest, even unto the last. And Jesus was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst. So we talked about conscience, conscionable, and things like that. That's an important key word to pick out. When Jesus had lifted up himself and saw none but the woman, he said unto her, woman, where are those thine accusers? Hath no man condemned thee? She said, no man, Lord. And Jesus said unto her, neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. Then spake Jesus again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. The Pharisees therefore said unto him, thou bearest record of thyself. Thy record is not true. Jesus answered and said unto them, though I bear record of myself, yet my record is true, for I know whence I came and whither I go, but ye cannot tell whence I come and whither I go. Ye judge after the flesh, I judge no man. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true, for I am not alone, but I and the Father that sent me. Christ, now initiates, we finished that. Chapter verse is done. So we continue on with the analogy of that and the comparison, and if you like, cross-examination to put this into play. Christ was not operating at common law within that chapter and verse of John. I hope you can start to see that. Christ went against the law of the land, which basically said they get to stone the lady to death, the black and white, law of the land. She was out with somebody when she wasn't supposed to be. So Christ was operating when he said what he said there, let ye without sin cast the first stone, within equitable terms. Christ was using the maxim, he who seeks equity must do equity. Now, that doesn't mean exactly what it says on the tin. What that means is, in our definitions and analogies, within equity, you have rights. Your substantive rights are held in equity. You have to remember that if you're seeking equity, you also then have to abide by equity. And remember that the other side that you're going up against, that you're making claims against, that you're holding to account, has rights too. So if you come in as the plaintiff, it's actually plaintiff, I believe, but they say plaintiff, or if you decide to come in as the beneficiary and you start to hold a trustee to account for non-performance of a trust, then we must remember that the trustee will have rights too. And that is what Christ was showing you in John there. Christ was operating with the soul and the spirit of the law. He was operating within equitable means, within equitable terms. So so that is a very important. It's not the only one. You know, we brought the father going away, leaving Adam and Eve alone in Genesis, the first book of Moses, and saying, you know, crack on, do what you want, but don't touch that tree. When I come back, all better be good. He comes back. They've covered up the genitalia. They've had a chat with the snake. They've had a bite of the apple. They've eaten from the tree.
Have a chat with the snake.
they've eaten from the tree of good and evil knowledge, and he comes back. They've broken the trust. There are many types and examples. Those on the Equity and Trust Jedi Orientation course that we've got going on the .com, the private domain. You will have seen my references there as well with regards to you know, other areas of that. So it's just an interesting comparison there. So when we go from what the topic we just went to from with mental health into the segue of, I needed to try and lift up the spirits there. And I thought that after John Bouvier's referencing and quote there, that would you know, help you understand about equity, clean hands doctrine, and those that seek equity must do equity. So it's not that we respect legal equity, we revere it, but we recognize its power. It's not fair of how they've the establishment, the church, the monarchy, and the bankers, when I say establishments, have hoodwinked us by our alleged tacit acquiescence, ignorance, and so forth, that you know, that they've allowed to say that we've our mums have if you like, not expressed a trust, but given a gift to the establishment at the beginning of the journey, which is with regards to the giving over of the security to the General Register's office, you know, and obtaining, after the hospital give a certificate of birth, then we later on, through our mum and dad, or our mum and the registry, the General Registrar, obtain a certificate of birth. And then later on, we take that certificate of birth and we go and pass it around as if it's evidence of identity for us. When you know, they don't issue, no registrar office issues a birth certificate to be used as evidence of identity. It even specifies it at the bottom of that certificate of extract of the record of the event, saying this certificate does not prove evidence of identity, is not to be used as an instrument or evidence of identity. But the establishments, such as the tax office and the banking office and the passport and the driving license and all these other offices, will accept the birth certificate as evidence of identity, but it is not issued for that reason. It is evidence of a security that was handed over by our mum to the government, and the government then takes the beneficial role because they are the custodian of that gift, and there was no trust set up there, but they use the rules of trust law and somewhat equity. Equity will save the day there, as we've come to learn, and we teach you first in time is first in line. We can make the custodian into a trustee, and we can correct. This is what we're doing in the background, by the way. Lately, Kevin's got his avenue of exploration, which is to be kept secret and private for now, and mine is too, but these are the parameters and the lines of which we are looking at, and we recognize the power of equity and the governance of that, and that is what will save the day. But with regards to the trust, the legal trust, the trusts that are set up, you know, we've put there God grantor. I've asked the question, what is the difference between settlor and grantor? Very key that you meditate on that and don't just give a textbook answer. And mum being a grantor of that, but she's not a grantor, because in equity you need to fulfill the three certainties, which would be the certainty of objects, the certainty of intention, and can you name the third one? I don't know, the certainty of subject matter. Okay, so if those three certainties aren't fulfilled, then there isn't a genuine bona fide established trust with a will set up, but there is something happening where it could be implied constructive or something else resulting, different types of trust that we've mentioned, which then they use to validate their unlawful but legal setup, where we then become the surety for the national debt via our tacit acquiescence and ignorance to the facts of the matter that we are not taught about, that mum didn't know, we was a baby, and later on when we're 18 we go and use that instrument and say that we are that which we are not. And that is what we're working on, to go back, recorrect, move the custodian to the trustee and reclaim the equitable relief, the capital gains that have been made, claim back everything that we've had to forcibly pay out under protest, previously duress, because for fear of fines, fees, forfeiture and imprisonment. So behind the scenes, as well as doing what we're doing document wise, and Telegram, Facebook, and what I've been doing spiritually, I've needed to calm the mind, delete everything, go back to the beginning, look at the gigabytes, probably terabytes of information that my computers, drives, the .com, Facebook, Telegram hold, talk with the admins, talk with Kevin and a few others that remain private and off the radar, and see about getting this one issue sorted out for the good of our mental health, and the way that the HMRC and Master Rishi, the Mr. Chancellor of the Exchequer and the Prime Minister are running the show. If we don't sort this out, then our children's, our bloodlines are going to be mentally, physically, financially, spiritually handicapped for the foreseeable. Yeah. And no, we're not having that.
Forever.
So, I hope that's lifted you up a little bit. Gosh, made some sense of it all. The madness. Go on, Kev. Take it. I was just
gonna go back to Bouvier actually.
Go on then.
And I wonder if that Bouvier was any way relation to the two very famous Bouvier women, of course, which is Jackie. And of course, Marge Simpson.
Bouvier, is it Bouvier? Oh, well, yeah, okay. I think you might be right on the Simpsons. Jackie Bouvier, I don't know. I've never. Who are they? Who's she?
Well, it's all to do with Onassis and all that. That was her original name, Jackie Kennedy. Bouvier. So that's a connection between that's when Marge is that, because Jackie, you know how popular Jackie Kennedy was, but she was Bouvier prior to. So that's where the joke comes on with Marge being a Bouvier, etc.
Got you, my brother. And then finally, the final subject for today's show is the COP26 and the coverage of that. Yes, they're saying what? They're saying that it's 1 minute to doomsday clock. They, Boris and the gang.
Can't even read a clock.
Yes, and they're saying that if we don't, this is humanity's greatest meeting, most important, maybe not greatest meeting. And the issue.
Going to pay for that?
Well, yeah, it's...
Again, that's exactly what it is. We've got all these brilliant ideas that you slaves are going to pay for generations to come. That's what it's all about. And actually, we're just filling our pockets and fuck you.
The conference of the parties is saying, yeah, about there's the degrees, the world heating up, and how important it is, and 1.5 to 2 degrees, and what we need to do, fossil fuel burning. And when I heard that, I was like, but we've got Jack Fresco Venus Project, where he came out on the Larry King show in about 1976 and said, here, I've got an answer for just about all the world's environmental and commercial, logistical, social problems, and I've called it the Venus Project. And he was on, if you search Jack Fresco, and many of you know who he is now, Matthew in Sheffield introduced him to me. He designed a city to coexist with nature, to be in harmony with nature, not so much 0 point energy, but utilizing. He was an engineer in his time for airlines, and he did a lot of work in the commercial area, and I believe in airlines, if I remember him rightly. He's now deceased and gone. I believe there is a city type Venus Project miniature in America somewhere. And on Larry King in 1976, he presented his idea, and he was silenced and shunned by media in itself for the rest of his life. He's only been able to, I believe, somebody that the name Roxanne Meadows, and somebody else that was behind the zeitgeist, Peter, somebody might be, worked all together in the early days. Roxanne is kind of looking after and is the trustee of the Venus Project technology now. That's one area that we could have looked at in the 70s, but didn't. And the Venus Project in itself is just an incredible, brilliant miracle from a genius man that was, much like Nikola Tesla, not given the light of day. And Tesla's inventions and technologies, I think there's 112 of Tesla's patented devices. For instance, the ignition, electric ignition on the car, the electric starter motor, the coil ignition, instead of going to the front and turning the big handle and cranking up the engine that way on Papa Fords or equivalent combustion engines as such for your horse and carriage motor vehicle, the pleasure craft. He invented the electric motor, as you know, brushless motor, the starter motor, the electric coil, the things on a remote control, infrared. Marconi stole the radio off him, 0 point energy, 369, vortex mathematics. I could go on for hours, and many of you are aware of this, so I'm just wasting my breath. But in the late 19th century, early 20th century, we had direct opposition to Papa Ford's petrodollar combustion, poisoning, dirty engine, and electric Tesla motors. And not Elon Musk when I say Tesla, but Nikola Tesla's invention of motors, electric motors, wireless technology, the Tesla tower, the Tesla coil, Wardenclyffe, all of these things. And he was shunned by Faraday, Edison, and all of the bigwigs because they wanted, and Ford, Papa Ford, the billions and millions of pounds that they were generating through the burning of fossil fuels, oils and gases, namely the petrodollar. And we could have had that 100 and something years ago going forward, and we wouldn't be in this allegedly, because I'd argue that Gaia and the sun itself goes through grand and solar minimums and grand times, minimum times, and the Earth has a cyclical cycle of North Pole ice, South Pole magnetic poles moving and heating up and cooling down as the cycle of Gaia goes. So I'd argue that it may not be as disastrous as what they say, and this might just be a normal cycle of time itself and the Earth's biorhythms, if you like, the Schumann resonance and things working their magic and doing what they do naturally. But you would still need to consider the fact that others, Viktor Grebnikov, another name that needs to be mentioned there, Schrauberger, impeller, not propeller, things like this. There are too many greats that have been silenced over the annals of history that have brought out many inventions. Jared Moran, back in the day, when I say the early days when YouTube was unregulated, so to speak, and not full of algorithms, found a man with Matthew called Gerard Moran Technologies. The other guy that was doing weightlessness and dressed up in a Star Trek outfit, I can't think of his name now. He looked a little bit of a loon, but he was a genius from what he presented on his programs. That name escapes me. So they've been kept quiet, silenced and belittled, the technologies that they've presented. So the great conglomerates, banking family, members can make these billions of pounds a year by selling the fossil fuels, poisoning the planet at the Earth's animal kingdom, plant kingdoms, and the kingdom of man's expense. And now all of a sudden, we've got to shit our pants and start dropping all of everything immediately, or it's doomsday. And I just thought, I need to mention this on Tube and see what everyone's got to say. Thank you. I enjoyed that.
I'm glad that you got that off your chest.
Oh, well, yeah, feel free. Comment.
Tilly, how you doing? Yeah, greed is it. That is exactly right. The greed it's unbelievable.
Jacqueline has commented, Donald, didn't Trump's uncle get all Tesla's patents? I believe it was, and I believe the office was called the Office of Alien Property, so to speak. That was the office that actually confiscated the patents there, much like the back engineering testimonials from Bob Lazar and Dr. Stephen Greer, and the projects that the disclosures that are afoot now, the stealth bomber, the technology for the stealth bomber, fiber optic cables, microchips, and yeah, it's phenomenal. The last 1950s, 70 years now, but from the 1950s to 2021, 71 years, they're nearly 72. Just stop. It doesn't matter. The point is that it's gone nearly a 90-degree angle with the technology that we've had produced from 1950 onwards. It wouldn't just rely on solar panels itself, the 0 point energy, the vortex mathematics, the clean green inventions and involvement of what we could have had and what we could have done if we'd have had it implemented into society instead of the military industrial complex, as various American presidents have quoted, saying it is a danger when these mother truckers get this technology and the military industrial complex proceed forward with these technologies and weaponize them before handing them out to society afterwards. As the TV is a weapon, the mind control unit has got a patent number as a mind control unit rather than for a television set for entertainment and pleasure and leisurely activities. The television is actually patented under, if you go and do your research, rockets, weapons, lasers, all of that was used for military industrial complex before it was even given us for, we're reading CDs or DVDs or whatever, tattoo removal and such things as information and leisure, business, commercial. It just, it's getting to be a joke. So we need to recognize that there's no open source at all. It's coveted and kept behind the scenes, and it's weaponized before it is even socialized.
Indeed.
Which is why I like our private community and the information that we find and the projects that we do and the ideas and the premises that we come up with. And hydrogen technology, this channel has been mentioning, and I didn't invent it, but I helped pioneer for the Turan engine and cleaning, doing engine cleans, and I've proven to have 2005 1.9 TDI engine with 225,000 miles on that diesel engine, and it's got 0.05 emissions through the MOT VOSA gas emissions test 1 year and 0.07 a year after, an uphill, an improvement of a dirty, and it's gone up by 0.02, so not the hundreds, not the tenths, but the thousands of units. It's in the thousands of emissions, and it really shouldn't be that clean. So the technologies work there. Hydrogen therapy for health reasons, and what the hydrogen, there's a machine called a Lord's machine, which is several £100, which will allow you to breathe hydrogen gas, pure, refined, not just any old hydrogen. And it is an implosive, not an explosive, but it will go bang if you don't use it and play with it, experiment with it properly. And it can have massive beneficial effects on your health, on your biorhythms, on your cardiovascular. These are proven facts. Hydrogen technology and gas, instead of burning natural gas, we can be burning hydrogen in the boiler at home, where we've got these utility companies hiking up the costs, and we've got fuel poverty going off. You'd have a vat of water and you'd be using tiny electric currents going through. A few amps and a few volts is all it takes, and it would be provided via batteries and solar power, and you could generate hydrogen gas and oxyhydrogen. You can use the two because oxygen's very flammable. We know that liquid oxygen goes up very easily, and hydrogen implodes, oxygen explodes. You can have oxyhydro gas, and they've kept this from us. The military industrial complex. How do you think a big military aircraft carrier fuels its engines? I don't know. I haven't been there. I'm not in the army, but rumor has it that they use diesel, which fuels the petrodollar. Obviously, the fuel that the American and the English armies use. and how much diesel their tanks and planes and jets, and I know it's refined in different sources, but it's basically fossil fuel, and they use billions of gallons of it, and they're fueling the empire's machines with this, the army, Her Majesty's Air Force, Navy, etc., and army, and America's armies and other armies are running on these fuels, fossil fuels, and they introduce hydrogen to help them burn with the fossil fuels. They allegedly, the engineer that taught me and helped me, Eco Motors in Devon, Jason, was in the Navy, and he first found hydrogen by being on a boat that had alongside its diesel combustion engine to propel the mothership along the seas. It had another generation power unit which was assisting the burning of the diesel, and it was introducing hydrogen into the ship's engine, and that's how he first discovered hydrogen technology, the hydrogen cells upon the Royal Navy's boats. So I can't validate, confirm, deny this, but I take his word. His word is his bond. And so then he decided to privately enterprise this and see about, trying to clean up society and get more bang for your buck, your pound, by adding this to the general combustion engine. So it does, have some weight to it there. And again, it's just sad is what it is, but it's eventually come out. There's a train in Birmingham running on hydrogen now. There's a Shell petrol station in London that will sell you hydrogen, that manufactures hydrogen on site. So Buckinghamshire Fullerene, Carbon C60, Rick Simpson oil. This is what I mean about our private community, how we find stuff and it then leads to Bennett. Gans from Gansders. What?
I was just handling that. I was just holding that.
Really?
Yeah, just got a tube in my hand there. That came from Gansders.
Looks like a sample, doesn't it, to those that aren't aware of what GANS is.
I'm sure it's expanded the solid in there, if you know what I mean. Don't remember it being that full.
That for a bit of old technology. Remember them? The original smartwatch. The won't say the brand, but I'm sure that's iconography. I've got it upside down because of where I'm wearing it. But remember them? Or the button, the calculator watch.
Yeah.
Old school.
And they got the initial CIA in the name.
I see your sample, and I
raise you a suppository.
Keep it in there with the fruit. Keep it like a little bit fresher. Stick one in there. I think we've cracked it tonight. I think we should look at winding down. We should go for a short goodbye, maybe 11 o'clock finish. Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, we've got a couple of hours. We've covered what we said we were going to cover. Yeah, plus other subjects and little tangents. So I'm happy if you're happy.
He's a geezer. He's a real crowd pleaser. He's a good. Ebenezer is a real good geezer. Yeah, definitely. I hope the scribes are happy.
Yeah, thanks everybody. It still says 38 here, which is really nice. Thank you. 38 in, still hanging about. Are we that interesting, or is it you haven't got any lives?
Yeah. Sunday chirp is now on. You've watched all your box sets and you're yearning for soul food. This is the place to come. We will feed the souls some food.
Yeah, I'll just say, did you hear me earlier, Andy? I'll sort of Wednesday or so, mate. I haven't spoke to you for ages, but I'll give you a call, mate. Lisa had her GANS tube stolen. Nobody had owned up to it.
Oh, really? Oh, really now?
Oh,
Bless.
really?
Got quite a lot from Gansders. I need to distribute some. We'll get some on SPLs and we'll sort you some out, Lisa. I'll get you some sent across. You get in touch with me. You looked after us across the years, and we can definitely sort you some out. I've got about, I think, 4 litres here. So
Ooh.
I'm looking. Yeah, I've just been sat there though, doing nothing. So we need to, I've got enough around and about.
I need some
water.
I need new bracelet and a new necklace. I've had them off for a while, so it'd be nice to see. That's what I could do with if you've got any.
Yeah, I'll sort you out. Calvinius
right.
Maximus.
Yeah, it'd be worth having another go just to see if there's I've been off it again for quite a while. So
been off it. It's not addictive. I know what you mean.
I've been off it. I got off the gear, got off the GANs, bang on it. That just give me a right habit, easy. Yes, GANs tubes. I don't know if you can see that, Jacqueline. GANs. That's all the way from our brethren over there in Sweden. And as the Ganders, man. Ganders, man.
Brought by a Swede and an Iranian called, what was he called now?
Oh, yeah.
What did they call him now? It was a very interesting name. Ahura Mazda.
That's him. That's
Ahura
him.
Mazda, not Master, Mazda. Gas in at nano solid state. So amongst Buckinghamshire fullerene, carbon C60, if you've never heard of that, look at, we've got, if you search the forums on SPLs and you'll find my applicable scientific posts relating to that in itself is just amazing. Look at additionally gas in a nano solid state and what that is, and you'll see that there is a little bit of slander, besmirchment about it. I've only ever had positive results from it, and I can't really knock it. Got rid of back pain, arthritic pain, made bananas last 2 or 3 weeks longer than they would have normally. Yeah,
they lasted forever.
Look at colloidal silver water or silver nitrate. That's another miracle mineral from alchemy. We are alchemists of the mind and alchemists of physical elements as well, the periodic table. Alchemy, philosophers in our own right, and the philosopher's stone. Silver nitrate, silver water. Look at the applied uses of that in science and medicine and what that actually is. Gas in a nanosolid state, and carbon C60, Buckinghamshire fullerene, and lastly, Rick Simpson's miracle. We can say it, can't we? Cannabis oil.
How dare you? Dare you bring up the dirty drugs?
I know.
Yeah, RSO, CBD, decent CBD, not hemp CBD, but yeah, it's all a lot of it about now.
What you mean is full spectrum, not cold press from the seed.
Well, don't go not hemp. You want from a proper plant that's high in CBD, not a hemp plant.
Let's look at the room then. We'll aim for 11.
Yeah, chlorine dioxide. That was the was it? You could buy that from where else did they use that for? You get it from vets and stuff, or like, yeah, they were going on about that, using that.
Chilster, that's Chilster's comment. I got that. Yeah, what was that? Muller leaf or something.
Mullein.
There's
Mullein.
Come on, let's get it in.
Yeah, for lungs. Mullein's good. In tea, you can buy it in bags. Have it as tea.
Indica.
If you. Oh, the cat's trying to claw her way through the glass.
You're welcome, Barnster. Michael Barnes
Yeah,
as well. Thank you. Thank you all for your viewership, for your comments, for your love and support.
cheers, Bouncer, Michelle, everybody. Yeah, good to see you in the room. Much appreciated to everybody.
Watch your base pins on telling you, Chill Star, sitting by the base pin. Base, how low can you go? Man, Gans does has put knee eye to a gnat is how low we can go. Don't forget to visit, and he's put the public Telegram chat chirp there. Obviously,
right, I see that.
I'll put the links into this video after it's been uploaded tomorrow for the various places where we are. You go to our homepage, splspro.com, and visit that, have a read, see who and what we are in that private capacity, our private educational trust, our foundation educational trust. You can get to our Facebook page there, and we will put the public Telegram chat links in for you. Well, most of you are with us in the private and in our private capacity, in our private Telegram. Lots going off to the future, everybody. We look forward, never backwards, seldom backwards. Remembrance Day, was it not today as well? So it was a good day
Indeed,
to talk topical. Let's get that in before remember the blood that's been spilled.
Lest we forget for what's all being quickly taken away from us. we mustn't no, but it is, isn't it? Which is the travesty of it all.
Love it. Yeah.
Nobody's so much respect to the fallen and the serving and anybody who did their bit. Fair play.
Blessed be everyone. Don't turn blue, though. That's right. Don't turn blue. I don't know if that's true, but I did put some colloidal silver water in some water in a glass jar, and I went outside on an exceptionally sunny August afternoon, and I held up the glass, and it did go purple, bluey, indigo color. Orange. So that is true. Then it does react to sunlight. So if you had enough, and you had enough particulates in your blood, you went outside, if you overdosed on it, not overdosed, but you had high quantities ingested, then you'd probably go purple yourself. Yeah.
Well, it's getting close to silver nitrate, which is used for developing photos, which is light sensitive. So there you have it.
That's it. Yeah, it is more or less silver nitrate. Yeah, and whilst if you do ingest and you look at the beneficial aspects of colloidal silver water, you will need to look at your microbiome system in the gut, because doing what it does, you need to reintroduce the gut bacteria. Your gut is very important for health, well-being, not just for eating and pooing and processing of the food, but obviously you need to make sure that your bifidus digestiva, cell casei, immunitas, things like this are back up to full strength, because they will take a hit as you are, self-medicate, not even medicate, it's not medicine, self-healing, self-tweaking, remapping your biological
herbalizing.
Yeah, man, that's the far out.
Herbalizing.
Important to know. And that's it then. We've done. I've enjoyed that. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Scribes. We're going to shut down. That is the short goodbye in place of the long goodbye.
Yeah, it would be until midnight. Yeah, no, good to be back. Thanks for you all joining us. Hope you've enjoyed it. It won't be such a long period of time for the next one. As I say, hopefully things are getting a little bit back to normal, whatever that is.
Let's do it then. Let's say bye. Much love. See ya.
Yeah, much love to you all. Thanks very much. Be well. Have a great week. You know where we are. Bring your friends. Oh, just quickly, you had a little influx of members today.
We were so close. We nearly
just a little influx of members. That's all.
All right, brilliant.
I've got a few coming in. I think from that post I did about the 5 properties and the 7,000 companies seems to have been shared everywhere. Not saying it's my post, but just our post of it's been shared to loads of places and outsides. We've had a few people in today, the last couple of days again, another little influx.
Inside, rewind, selector. Kevin's on the case. Nice one, much love. And yeah, we got past 1,000, so we're moving in the right direction. We got to that.
Yeah, I've got to tell you about, actually talk to you about that, about the 1,000th winner. I've got his profile, but yeah, I need to sort of find out what his sense of humour's like first. But I've got a brilliant follow-up post to do dedicated to him. So I'll talk to you about that.
All righty, let's do this then. Let's end. We're gonna cut.
Love
Wind, reel, and play. Is it wind, reel, rap? Yeah, that's it.
There's a hair in the gate.
Much love. Ciao, Bello. Thank you, Kevin. We'll speak tomorrow. See you soon, scribes.
Yeah, no worries. Much love to you all. Thank you. Good night.
Selector.